Alright guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. It's from a guy. He is 49 years old, and he shares his story about events that happened around 30 years ago, where this young gal tried to seduce him and baby trap him. You're going to see that this young gal, well, let me explain this. His cousin, his male cousin, recently got married to a woman who had 3 kids. And one of those 3 kids was this 18-year-old girl. So obviously she was older. And they moved to the area, and he met this girl, and they hung out one day. He was introducing her to the area, and lo and behold, you're going to see how she tried to seduce him. But thank the Lord, this guy was smart enough not get involved with her, not fall for that. But regardless, guess what? She eventually got pregnant and blamed it on him. And you're going to see how this whole thing unravels and goes down. But of course, this guy handles this like a boss. And that'll be a good one to show you guys once again how there are a lot of gals out there that will deliberately seduce guys in the hopes of trying to get pregnant so they can get a provider. And a lot of times that happens when they're older, hoping to get a ring on their finger because they're approaching 30 years old or something like that. In some cases, they're very, very young and simply just don't want to work. And if they can sense a guy in their perception is a nice guy who, whether that kid is theirs or not, will just automatically assume it's my kid, no DNA test, no paternity test, they're going to be looking for those types of guys. So you must be careful. I cannot stress that enough. And how if something like this ever happens, you cannot just so easily go along with it. You need to demand a paternity test, DNA test, whatever you want to call it. Of course, if it's legal in where you live. If you're in France, you're shit out of luck. But you get my point. You can't just blindly go into and be, I'm going to be the hero, I'm going to save that girl. No, that may not be your kid. And I know I cover this subject a lot, but I cannot stress enough how important this is. But before I get into this real quick, I got a quick email about it from a guy who, in a situation, demonstrated how important it is to have a strong masculine frame, core, structure, whatever you want to fucking call it, and the positive impact it had on his girlfriend when this whole thing went down. So the first one says here, Dear SSM, I want to share a story, an example that when guys remain emotionally centered, good things happen to them. 2 days ago, I was in a pretty bad car accident. I T-boned another car and totaled mine. In the aftermath, and after praising God that neither myself or the other driver were injured, I steered myself to be a solid rock emotionally. I calmly took control, first texting my girlfriend a picture of my totaled car with a message that this just happened. I said, how was your Saturday? She immediately called, quite upset. Deadpanned, I said, our date is still on for Sunday in case you were worried. I have a rental car coverage. She laughed through her tears. After I got off the phone, I calmly started making phone calls to the insurance company, etc. Even the female police officer commented on my calm energy. When I finally met up with my girlfriend the next day, she gave me a huge hug and a long kiss. She then said that she was so turned on how I handled the matter with humor, grace, and calmness. The moral of the story is, remain calm and never lose your shit. Thanks for all you do. Exactly. I've been saying this from pretty much day one. Guys, you gotta be the rock. Okay, this isn't just about your girlfriend. This could be, if you're a parent and you got kids, you gotta keep calm. Shit's gonna happen. Oftentimes, shit happens every day in varying degrees. You gotta remain calm. You gotta remain centered around the people that depend on you. Because if you lose it, then they're gonna lose it. And when it comes to women, if they feel like they can't trust you to be the rock, then all of a sudden they gotta embrace their strength and masculine side, and believe me, they don't like that. And believe me, you don't want your girl to embrace her strong masculine side because she can't trust you to take care of business, and she'll be miserable and bitchy and all that. And she doesn't want that way. She doesn't want to be that way, and you don't want her that way. So very good, man. Always remain the rock, guys. Always remain calm in situations. I had a car accident about 10 years ago. Some nitwit hit me on the highway, and at the time I was in the car with my girlfriend and her parents. We were going to Boston for dinner one night. Everything was slowing down, and she wasn't paying attention, and she hit I was driving a giant Ford Expedition, so there was barely any damage to my bumper, but her car was total. And I got out of the car, and as much as I was pissed off, I was calm, made sure she wasn't dead, called the cops, dealt with the insurance company, same thing, exactly. And my girlfriend, I could tell, was very appreciative because she was shaken up by the whole thing, as were her parents. Nobody was injured. So you got to remain calm, guys. Always be the rock, be the strong one. If you want to curse and yell and freak out in private, go right ahead. But those that depend on you, you got to be that leader. It is what it is. Okay. On to the main story. This guy says, "Hey SSM, I see you finally made it to Florida, so I want to say from one transplant to another, welcome to the Sunshine State." Well, thank you, bro. It's not sunny today at this moment, but every other day I've been here for a week has been. I've been really loving my move down here. I've been a fan of your channel for a while now. I started watching you right before you recorded from your living room without the shades. I never understood why people got their panties wadded up in a bunch over you not being in the car and not wearing your shades. It is what it is. Made me ask myself if these viewers complaining wish for wisdom, or they're checking you out and trying to smash. Anyway, on to the story. This is yet another story that proves what you always say. No matter how old they are or where they're from, women are all the same. A little about me. I'm 49 years old, and this story took place right after my high school graduation. My cousin and his wife had recently moved down to Florida from up north. A little backstory on them. They met in a bar sometime in the early to mid 80s. She had 3 kids before getting together with him. Of course. 2 of the kids never lived with them, and to be honest with you, I have no idea who they were with. Once they got settled in Florida, my cousin's wife had her daughter come down to live with them. For this story, we will call my cousin's wife Alicia and her daughter Carmen. The weekend after Carmen arrived in Florida, Alicia invited my mom and I over so we could hang out, throw some burgers on the grill, and meet Carmen. My family is the kind of family that likes to get together with each other and have a good time. Birthday parties, holidays, cookouts, you name it. So inviting us to come over was not out of the ordinary. We came over and got introduced to Carmen. Turns out that Carmen and I are the same exact age. How interesting. Alicia had asked me if I would take Carmen out with me to show her around so she wouldn't be stuck in the house bored. I agreed because of being Alicia's daughter, I was going to treat her like family, like a cousin. After Alicia married into the family, she wasn't the type that called us her husband's family. She just called us family. I had the same intentions. I was going to call her daughter family as well. Okay, so everything sounds great so far, but as you are all well aware, and given the title of this video and the intro, these things don't seem too good too long. So that Saturday night, I picked her up to hang out. Back in the 90s, if you wanted somewhere to go hang out that wasn't going to cost you a lot, you would go to the Strip. Back in the day, there were sports bars and clubs on the Strip, and people would go to cruise or go to party. You were guaranteed to see some badass rides and some half-dressed hotties. There was always something to see and possibly some kind of fun to get into. Anything else, you would have to pay for it, and I wasn't paying her way to go to a movie, the bowling alley, or to the only teen club that we had. Yeah, you're not her boyfriend, you're not dating her. She's like a cousin. And she's your age and she can have her own damn money. The next day I was going to hit the beach, so I swung by to pick her up. After picking her up, I swung by my buddy's apartment. I can't remember why I went there, but when I got there, he wasn't home. My buddy lived alone and I knew where he kept his spare key, so I grabbed it to go inside. I went in and used the bathroom while she was in the living room. When I came out, she threw herself at me and wanted to have SCX. Gee, couldn't see this one coming. A little background on me. I was a football player and a wrestler in high school. I was into weightlifting and obviously I did a lot of cardio being an athlete. My last year there, I weighed 158, I was 6% body fat, and had a 45-inch chest and a 29-inch waist. Dude, that's impressive. How freaking, wondering how tall you are. I'm also 6 foot tall, tan Latino. You must have really skinny legs, even though you played football and wrestling, because 158 with a 45-inch chest, I know you have 6% body fat, but that's extremely impressive, but still, at 6 feet tall, maybe you just have light bones or something. I wouldn't say I was a Chad or a Tyrone. You know what? Scratch that. You're in Florida now, land of many Latinos, and you have to include us now. I'm going to suggest Mando, short for Armando, as the Latin version of Chad. I had a buddy in high school named Mondo, and this dude was slaying chicks left and right. I'll call you Lando, like Lando Calrissian. How about that? So as I was saying, I wasn't no Chad, Tyrone, or Mondo, but I had my share of girlfriends and had slayed a few myself. What can I say? Florida was wild in the 80s and 90s. There was a lot of sex, including at the high schools. Well, newsflash, there's a whole lot of sex going on in Florida now, and there'll be a whole lot of sex after we're both gone. Back to Carmen. She threw herself at me wanting to have sex. She's now, through marriage, your cousin. But obviously, Carmen doesn't care. That could be a show. Carmen doesn't care. I said, okay, let's go to Walgreens and get some condoms. She said, no, let's do it right now. Hold on. Aside from this being stupid and you're being young and you got this hottie that you want to nail, this takes stupidity to a whole new level if you're going to do this without condoms. I replied, sorry, I don't go out in the rain without a raincoat. But if you're that hot and bothered, there's always foreplay. She refused, and her attitude changed. I guess she thought her attitude could guilt me into sex. What she got instead of going to the beach was taken back home. She was being shady, and I just knew it was a trap. Needless to say, that was the last time I saw her for that summer. Good. Yeah, very suspicious that, again, cousin, by marriage or whatever, and is throwing herself at you and getting bitchy, and she wants to use it without a condom, all that. Guys, I say this all the time about the baby trapping. All the time. You always provide protection. You wear your protection, dispose your protection. There are gals that want to get pregnant. Now, usually it's a little bit later in life, but, you know. Fast forward a few months, I decided to head back up north and try out the whole college thing. My mother calls me to talk, and wait for it, she tells me that Carmen had given birth. Carmen and Alicia were telling everyone the baby was mine. Interesting. So are you like, you just look at her and she gets pregnant? Is that your superpower? Because last time I checked, you didn't do anything. My mother went over there to see the baby because she wanted to see if there was any resemblance. She took one look at the baby and said, that's not his baby. She looks nothing like him. Alicia tells my mother, no, she's your granddaughter. My mother told her, anybody can see this baby is half black. That was the last thing my mother heard of. But Alicia tried spreading the rumor through the family that the baby was mine. Of course, as she grew, developed, and got darker than all of us, you could clearly see that she didn't have any of my facial features. The family saw the truth. Now, it wasn't dramatic, and there weren't any family fights over it. She made this statement, and the family wasn't buying it. So she held on to that lie and did not let go. Lessons I learned from this. Number one, you can't turn a 304 into a housewife. Number two, if a mom is a 304, she will gladly hand down that hoe bag handbook to her daughter. Pretty often, I asked myself, why did Carmen and Alicia pick me as their target? Was it because I was the only guy Carmen's age that Alicia knew? Or was it because she married my nice guy cousin and thought I'd be a nice guy too? Probably. And also, you were taking her daughter out to show her around for a good time. Now some people say, hey, it's family, and not, but I don't know. As a young man, let's be honest here. The only reason we hang out with girls, let alone good-looking girls, is because hoping or being determined that we're going to hook up with them, right? So it's like, why would you, as a young man who wasn't quite the Mondo, as you said, or Lando Calrissian, that's better, who's good looking, in shape and all that, wasting your time hanging out with some chick when you could be out with a chick you could be hooking up with, or your bros. So instantly they may have perceived that, because perception's everything, that you're Mr. Nice Guy, and this is the bullshit that happened. Who knows? But she set her target on you. And at 18 years old, she deliberately wants to get pregnant. My cousin should have known better than marrying a woman who loves to go to the bar. But I somewhat get it. She was beautiful back in the day, and she liked doing what he liked to do. Nonetheless, single mother of 3, and she's only had custody of one of them, should have been a red flag the size of Texas. How many times do I have to say, you want a family, guys? Go with a girl that doesn't have any kids, any baggage. Well, they all have baggage. And let's be honest, guys have baggage too. But no kids. You don't need that bullshit. It's not a responsibility. And yeah, she had your cousin's number because she's good looking. And 3 kids, that's the bullshit he was going to deal with, even if they were older. Come on. But yes, cousin's a nice guy, you're a nice guy. That's the perception. So where is everyone now and what's going on in their lives? My cousin and Alicia were married for over 2 decades. Wow, that long. She turned out to be a good wife after all, but she left him because of his drinking. She took off back up north, and he stayed down south. I don't believe for a second she was a good wife to him for 20 years. No way. Carmen has bounced around from failed relationship to failed relationship, popping kids out all over the place. Shocker. She has either 4 or 5 kids and a grandkid right now. Funny thing, that grandkid is actually the product of a marriage. Daughter's been married for a few years now, which is odd since she is the product of Sodom and Gomorrah 2.0 lifestyle. Well, maybe that daughter saw how much of a 304 her mother was and the chaos of the family and said, I'm not going to be that way, because that can happen. Yes, if the mother is a 304, the daughter very likely could be a 304. But if, like, they have many kids and it's a screwed situation, there are some kids that are born in chaos. They say, I'm not going to be like this. No freaking way. As for me, I dodged the big one that day and went to college, where it took me a year and a half to figure out that college was not for me. So I ended up enlisting in the Marine Corps and serving for 8.5 years. Brother, thank you for your service. I learned 2 trades while there, one of them being aircraft maintenance and the other one working with hazardous materials. I worked hazmat for 5 years before I decided to get into military contracting. I worked as a contractor fixing military aircraft, and he went back to college and earned my degree. Good for you, man. I also got certified by the FAA as the airframes and power plant mechanic and worked a couple of side gigs in general and corporate aviation. I spent a total of 19 years turning wrenches before I was recruited by a huge defense manufacturer into one of the engineering departments. I guess maybe Alicia saw that I had potential. I'm sure that was also it as well, and I'm sure she got whisper from her mother. You're going to be an easy meal ticket. Seduce you, you get her pregnant, or at least she gets pregnant and convinces you that you're the father, and you'll provide for her the rest of her life. So in closing, I just want to say, if you do use this story for one of your videos, feel free to use all the information I gave above. The only family members that I have that might be able to figure out the story about me don't spend any time on YouTube. The ones that do have no clue what I do for a living. Well, we'll see. Thanks for what you do and keeping spreading the word, brother. There are so many men out there that need this content. I've been giving my son R-Pill knowledge since he became a teenager, and next month for his birthday, I'll be sharing every video of yours that I've saved since I started watching you. Hopefully next month you'll have a new subscriber. Good luck in Florida, and watch out for the gators, snakes, panthers, and bears. And definitely watch out for the Florida man and the Florida woman. Bro, good story, and I'm so glad that you had the good sense back then not to fall for her crap, because look how your life could have been if you had hooked up with her and it was indeed your kid. Your life would not be what it is today by any means. And I guarantee you, she had been cheating on you left and right. So the young guys out there, as I say always, be careful. Think long term. Let up here do your thinking, not down south. Now, I know what it was like to be a young man and let down south do all the thinking. And thank God I walked away without any little SSM juniors walking around out there, to my knowledge. But you got to be careful. And there are gals that will deliberately try to get pregnant to find a provider and take care of them. And look what happened to her. I'm so glad your story turned out the way it is. I'm glad you're doing okay. So, guys, lots of lessons there. Good one for a Monday. All right, guys, that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this. And, guys, if you got a great story you want to share with me, email me, strongsuccessfulmale@gmail.com. And this also goes for any questions you might have that I can use the Ask SSM segment. Those are always good ones to do to help dudes out. And, of course, if you have any crazy stories you find on Reddit, long ones, short ones, send them to me as well. I can use them on the They Did What channel or the SSM Clips. There's value in everything, so send it all my way. And if I can't get to it immediately, I will certainly down the road if it's a really good one for the channel. And like I've been saying lately, I'm having the website in development that's going to be launching in December. And so all these good stories that I unfortunately cannot get to because I get so many, they will then eventually end up on the website with your permission, of course. And you guys will be able to read all these great stories and comment on them and do what you do here, except they'll be under my control, not YouTube's. And you'll be over there, and it'll be a men's community. I think you all really like what I have in development. It will be launching in a couple months. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.